you got to be screwed in the head. There is something definitely mentally cuckoo about all of us, and that's just confirmed by talking to everyone. There is something that's not quite right. It seems to be a common thread that all of us have had some type of trouble in our childhood or in our upbringing, or have had some type of life experience that's quite unique.
For some reason, it's the only thing in the world that blocks out all my emotions, how I'm feeling that day, and it just pulls me out of reality, basically. When you're starting out, you don't make a lot of money, and I'd like to be able to make some money from it so I can survive, and I'd love to be able to sport the habit.
I started when I was 18, when I was in year 12, and I love it. It's the best thing since sliced bread.
Alison started doing it, and I felt a bit left behind, but I wanted to give it a go, and I was a bit frightened, so about 3 months later I started as well.
And then one night we just went about probably 4 times, and it just got sad. We were drunk sitting there, and I just sort of got sad about what we were doing, and I said to Paul, give me 3 months and I'm going to have a go at this. I'll do it once.
I've only sort of started doing it regularly since the beginning of last year, so I suppose for about 2 years I've been doing it.
Let's start with this half of the room. Like you're going to the cricket, like that Pommy guy's taking a run up to have the first bowl against the Aussies. Now this half. Ladies and gentlemen, please go nuts for your first act for the night, Sean Maud. Thank you, everyone. Hey, I drop a mate off at her house and she turns to me and says, "Hey, come inside and see me dog. She's so intelligent." And I'm like, "Yeah, no worries." And I just get past the front gate when she comes running up to me, starts jumping all over me, licking my face. 5 minutes of slobbering all over me. I went, "F this." I grabbed her by the throat and said, "You don't actually have a dog, do you?"
I'm trying to study a law degree, so I'm not giving it the dedication that it needs. I wish I could.
Whenever I see an old, fat, ugly man walking hand in hand with a hot young Asian girl, I always think exactly the same thing. I wish I was the old, fat, ugly man.
I carry a notebook with me everywhere I go. Every spare second I get, I pull that out and write about whatever I can think of. I see telephone and it just sounds like something funny. It's something to do with a telephone at the time. I'll just write down telephone and go back to it and think what's funny about a telephone. So it's not, I don't wait for things to happen, I manufacture them.
I've got an awesome pair of camouflage pants somewhere.
Sometimes I just retell a story that's happened. Like with my grandmother's stroke, I'm just retelling what happened.
And last week I was at the shops and she called me and said, "Hi love, don't mean to be a bother, but when you get home, would you mind taking me to emergency? I've had a stroke." So I flipped out and sped home to find her pouring herself a glass of wine and making dinner. Because what was the rush, really? And then she suggested perhaps catching a tram into emergency and seeing a movie afterwards. And I said, well, you know, it's really not that kind of adventure.
The Tasmania joke where with the sat nav.
Yeah. Went to Tasmania, we had a sat nav that sat on the dashboard and it told us where to go, and it had a sexy woman's voice on it, and then she said, "In 400 metres, turn left."
I've performed it 100 times on stage, and so it's evolved.
Continue further,
and you see me perform that and it gets a laugh and it does really well. But that joke has been, I've done it 100 times, it's like, so it looks spontaneous and difficult, but it's not, it's just repetition and habit. And that's why comics do the circuit, because you have to do gigs, you have to do jokes 100 times before you get them good so that they work every time.
I just do as much as I can wherever I can, because the only way is to do as many gigs possible wherever you can, whenever you can, always trying new things. So it becomes an addiction. You're like, where can I jump up next?
Dad, he works for Telstra on the phones in the call centre. It's one of those guys, like he calls himself like a customer service consultant.
You guys know them. And like the mum, she works at the local school as like a lollipop lady, but no, she's like a vehicle and pedestrian accident prevention officer. They're like, what do you do, Jono? I'm like, I'm not unemployed. I'm just sponsored by a reputable government organisation.
The ratio to men and female comics is like 1 to 10,000. There's really not many female comics out there at all. Sometimes it's a bit harder too when you come out on stage and when audiences already have this thing in their mindset where they go, oh, females aren't funny, or here comes another tampon joke or something. But the reality is there aren't that many female comics who I've seen myself come on and do a tampon joke.
I've got a really weird mum, but no one ever believes me until they meet her, and then they're like, holy shit, never seen someone eat a fridge magnet before.
When you're in conversation, you make people laugh. That's an enjoyable feeling, and you feel good about yourself for having done that. So if you do that for 10 minutes straight, on a fundamental level, I don't know why that... It just does. It just does feel good. It's not in an altruistic sense. I'm not happy that I'm bringing joy to the world. I'm happy that they're laughing at my jokes.
I sort of looked at myself and thought, if I don't give it a shot, I'll never know what I could have done with it. So, I mean, if I get to 60 and I've done bugger all with it, I can at least say, well, I gave it a shot. It didn't amount to anything, but at least I know. At least I know I'm shit house, rather than just thinking, what if? What if?